Every true crime podcast begins with the background of the victim. To be honest, this one is personal for me, and it actually plays a big part in why I wanted to have a true crime podcast in the first place. In the law enforcement community, we talk a lot about brotherhood, the thin blue line, the shared risk that an officer takes every single time that they clock in. But there isn't a lot done to process those risks when they happen. They know that they're there, and veteran officers tell stories that don't fall on deaf ears. But officers don't typically talk about the heaviness of the tragedy that they face. Officers don't get the option to grieve or process when the victim of the horrific case you were just dispatched to is one of your own. The job has to be done still. Steps have to be taken to uphold the integrity of the case. Life-saving measures have to be given, no matter what. Then the officers just clock out, go home, wake up the next day, and do it all over again, without fail. 4 years ago, on July 31st, 2022, a 24-year-old Elwood, Indiana police officer named Noah Shahnavaz was brutally ambushed and murdered during a routine traffic stop in Madison County, Indiana. To the national media, he was a headline, a tragic statistic, a young U.S. Army veteran taken way too soon. But to me, Noah Shahnavaz was not a headline. To the department I worked for, officers who had just earlier that night been chatting and laughing with him, to the dispatcher who was actively talking to him when he was murdered, this was not a headline. This was real life, and it was personal. This is Into the 92. I'm your host, Shannon. Let's dive in.
Every crime leaves a digital trail. Every dark secret has a number. Are you ready to decode the truth? This is N2 the 92.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Into the 92 with me, your host, Shannon. Before we start today's case, there's a few things I would like to say. First of all, thank you to everybody that has been so supportive with the launch of my new podcast, who's shared my posts, subscribed to my channel. I really appreciate you guys more than I can say. Also, I would like to apologize for my audio. I am brand new at this, but I'm learning and I will get better. And I actually have been talking to a podcaster who has a great podcast, shout out Chop Easy, who has given me some great advice and equipment that I should get. And I plan on it just as soon as I can afford it. So it will get better with time. And it just makes me think about, honestly, when I started watching people like Annie Elise years ago, when she first started her podcast, and I remember the audio quality and things then, and I know now she does like updates on cases and she'll post like bits and pieces or go over cases that she's already covered and she's like, the audio's changed. And honestly, like that gives me hope. I hope to be on that level someday. I also would like to say that today's case it hits close to home for me. It's personal. I knew Noah Shahnavaz. I worked with him and I got to know him during the time that we worked together. His murder affected me just like it affected everybody else in the department that I worked for, in the county that I worked for, the community. And it's a tough one. And honestly, I tried to send his case information over to a couple of the bigger true crime podcasts that I follow years ago. I'm sure, they get like 1,000 case suggestions. They're a lot bigger than me. And I can only imagine. I know the cases I've been sent so far. I can't imagine having like hundreds of thousands of, viewers and keeping up with that. But I'm kind of glad that they didn't cover it, because this is honestly a story that I want to tell, and in a way to honor Noah. And so I'm excited about this case. I'm conflicted about this case. I'm feeling all the things. So I'm going to do my best to get through it. Noah Shahnavaz grew up in Fishers, Indiana. Right out of high school, Noah chose a life of service. He enlisted in the U.S. Army, serving as a military police officer in the 591st MP Company, including a deployment in the Middle East and multiple border missions. Noah's mother, Lori, later shared that Noah was singularly focused on achieving one goal. He wanted to be a small-town police officer. He completely destroyed every obstacle in his way to achieve that goal. While in the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy, Noah didn't just pass the minimum requirements. He was a model recruit, scoring in the 90s on almost every single exam. But more than his intelligence, he just had a pure servant's heart. He was extremely kind, incredibly polite, and so damn proud of the work that he was doing. When Noah first started with the Elwood Police Department, at that time, I was a supervisor for that county sheriff's department. And Elwood has a really cool policy. When you start as a new officer there, you have to shadow the person in the jail just to get a feel for how the jail operates, get a feel for the inmate population, and it builds a better relationship between patrol and custody. And honestly, I think it was great. Not all departments do that, but Elwood does, and I loved it. And Noah was assigned to shadow me during that time. So I got to know him during that time, and then I also got to know him further as we worked together when he would bring people into the jail. I could tell right away that he was just eager to do the job. There was never a task he wasn't ready to take on. He clearly had the it that it takes to be a great officer. It was just after 2 a.m. on Sunday, July 31st. Noah was working the night shift, patrolling the quiet streets in Elwood, Indiana. Noah spotted a 2012 Buick LaCrosse and initiated what should have been a standard textbook traffic stop. Noah pulled his cruiser up behind the Buick. He radioed in his location. But before he could even unbuckle his seatbelt or open the driver's side door, the driver of the Buick stepped out. The man didn't run. He didn't argue. Instead, he raised an assault rifle and began firing at Noah. 36 rounds.
Oh, 39? 37,000 north. Charles Tom Sam 565. I'm going to get out of the car. Attention, Madison County Station. Signal 100, State Road 37, 1100 north. Signal 100, State Road 37, 1100 north. Elwood 50, where are you? Yeah, the station.
36 rounds. The shooter fired 36 rounds directly through the windshield of Noah's patrol car. Noah never stood a chance. Noah was shot several times, including in the head. Tragically, he was pronounced dead after being flown via medical helicopter to an Indianapolis hospital. The shooter fled, sparking a furious multi-county pursuit. State troopers eventually used tire deflation devices and pit maneuvers to force the shooter off the road. The man that was pulled from the Buick was Carl Boards II. For those of us close to this case, the name Carl Boards sent a shockwave of absolute fury. Because Carl Boards should have been behind bars at the time that he was actively murdering Noah Shahnavaz. When a tragedy like this happens, the first question is always how? How did a man with an assault rifle end up behind the wheel of that car? And the answer lies in a broken system. In a terrifyingly identical incident that happened years prior, just in Marion County, Indiana. Back in November of 2006, Indianapolis Metropolitan Police officers conducted a traffic stop on Carl Boards. Just like he did to Noah, Boards refused to comply. He pulled a gun and actively fired shots directly at the Indianapolis police officers. Let that sink in. He had already tried to kill police officers once before. In 2007, a Marion County judge convicted Boards of criminal recklessness, resisting law enforcement, carrying a handgun without a license, and possession of a firearm by a serious violent felon. He was sentenced to a total of 25 years in prison. Under any logical standard, a man who shoots at the police, or anyone for that matter, should serve every single second of a 25-year sentence. In my opinion, but Carl Boards did not. Because of Indiana state criminal code regulations at the time, prisoners in Indiana were granted a day of credit time for every single day of good behavior while incarcerated. Essentially, sentences were cut in half automatically. Combined with credit time for time served in jail while awaiting trial, the Indiana Department of Corrections released Boards in August of 2019 after serving just 12 and a half years. 12 and a half years. I would love to talk to the officers that he shot at initially in 2006 and see what they think about 12 and a half years, especially given the circumstances now. He finished his parole in August of 2021. Less than 1 year later, completely free, he compiled an arsenal, recorded an underground song detailing how he would kill any police officer who ever caught him again. He then cross-referenced that threat by taking the life of Noah Shahnavaz. While Carl Boards II left behind a trail of destruction, Noah's family chose to weaponize their grief into saving lives. Amid the absolute heartbreak, they founded the Remember Officer Noah Foundation. Because Noah was shot directly through his patrol car's glass, his father Matt, his mother Lori, and their community set a beautiful targeted goal: to equip local police fleets with the bullet-resistant ballistic windshields. They've already raised thousands of dollars, donating ballistic glass to the Elwood Police Department and neighboring Madison County agencies so that no other cop is left vulnerable in the driver's seat. They also launched the Noah Shahnavaz Scholarship Fund, giving financial awards down to the exact penny of Noah's badge number of $3,939.39. Noah's badge number was Elwood 39. To young students pursuing careers in criminology and law enforcement. Now, one thing I do want to say about this. So, I not only worked in law enforcement and have seen lots of things, but also I am obsessed with true crime. I literally listen to true crime almost all day long. And I follow cases closely that I'm interested in. And there's a lot of times in true crime where you hear of cases being botched by police officers failing to act, failing to document properly, failing to investigate properly, failing to take leads when they're there, failing to have any kind of initiative to do their job, basically. And then in working in law enforcement, I've gotten to work with incredible officers who inspired me to be better, officers who gave their everything to the job. And one thing that I really love in this tragedy is the way that the Elwood Police Department has worked diligently to support the Shahnavaz family, and the way that the Shahnavaz family has worked diligently to support the Elwood Police Department. And you'll find out what I mean a little bit later, aside from the ballistic glass that was donated. But it's just incredible to see, because you don't hear about these things too often, and that's just kind of why I want to shed light on it. The family and the police department both do everything that they can to just honor Noah, and I think that that's pretty incredible. I wish that could be the case everywhere. What I think is the most profound tribute came from Noah's dad, honestly, Matt Shahnavaz. Less than a year after his son was murdered, Matt stepped entirely out of his comfort zone, went through the police pre-basic training, passed his exam with a 98%, and was sworn in as a volunteer reserve officer for the Elwood Police Department. He put on the same exact uniform as his son carry his son's legacy forward into the community that Noah loved, the community that Noah gave his life for. As Matt said, Noah was the type of person who did hard things. And right now, the hardest thing that the family has to face is honestly a stalled justice system. Given the sheer brutality of this targeted attack, Madison County prosecutors filed 11 charges against Boards and officially announced that they were seeking the death penalty. But this is where the road to justice took a bizarre, agonizing turn. In the true crime world, we often hear about the insanity defense, which claims that the accused didn't know right from wrong at the time that they committed the crime. Carl Boards originally entered an insanity plea, but later withdrew it. Instead, his legal team pivoted to a completely different, highly frustrating legal concept: mental incompetency. Under the law, you cannot put somebody on trial if they're mentally incompetent. It means that right now, in the present day, their mind is so fractured that they cannot understand the court proceedings or assist their attorneys in building their defense. And the delusions that Carl Boards is experiencing sound deeply bizarre. According to court records, Boards firmly believes that his state prosecution is a historical mirror of the prosecution of Martin Luther King Jr. He claims that members of a Masonic order are actively targeting him. He's accused his own defense attorney of conspiring with prison guards to have him pepper sprayed and tased. He's even stated that Yahweh himself will personally manifest inside of the Indiana courtroom to halt the legal process on his behalf. Following severe psychiatric evaluations, a judge officially ruled that Boards was incompetent. The death penalty trial was instantly paused, and Boards was ordered to Logansport State Hospital for competency restoration, which is basically a process where doctors attempt to stabilize a defendant through medication so that they can legally understand their trial. For Noah's family and for those of us that knew him, the continuous delays have been a masterclass in agonizing frustration. Rushing the trial while he's incompetent would give the defense immediate grounds to overturn a guilty verdict on appeal. The state must jump through every single legal hoop perfectly to ensure that when justice is dealt, it sticks permanently. And when I say frustration, this is what I mean. I get why the prosecution is doing all the things that they're doing. They honestly have to, no matter how frustrating it is. And I promise it is probably just as frustrating for them. They have to do it that way because if they don't, they run the chance of him walking free one day, which is honestly the last thing anybody wants. And what's frustrating about it for me, I can't speak for his family. I'm sure there's a long list, but for me, two things. First frustrating thing is that this even happened in the first place. Carl Boards should have been incarcerated when he committed this crime. He already attempted to murder 2 police officers. So why he was ever set free literally 12 years later is mind-boggling to me. And it's insane. I will never understand that. I don't agree with it. It's insane. The second frustrating thing is that he lived in an apartment above a barbershop. And when police searched that apartment after he was arrested, they found music that he had written. And he literally detailed what he was going to do to a police officer should they ever try to arrest him again. And he literally did that to Noah Shahnavaz. So, outlined it perfectly. And my thing is that screams premeditation. I don't understand. I'll never understand all of a sudden now you're incompetent. All of a sudden now. And it's not like this man has no knowledge of incarceration or he doesn't know the mental toll of incarceration. He's already spent 12 years in prison recently. So why all of a sudden now? Why all of a sudden now are you so incompetent? You were just fine before. It doesn't make sense to me. But I understand why the prosecution and the judge, I understand why they're doing the things they're doing, because they just don't want to run the risk of ruining this case and letting this murderer walk free. So it has to be done. It's just, it sucks. The whole thing just sucks. Let's talk about now. So, in the beginning of June 2026, the court officially vacated the upcoming summer trial date, pushing Noah's murder trial all the way to February 2027. Boards is currently being monitored by state medical directors, but a critical legal turning point is rapidly approaching. On July 10th, 2026, Carl Boards is scheduled to step back into the courtroom for a formal medical competency status hearing. The doctor will present their findings, the judge will make a choice, and we will finally find out if the state of Indiana can move forward to demand the ultimate price for the life of Noah Shahnavaz, or if the wheels of justice are going to grind to a halt once again. I know I'll be following this case every step of the way, every second of the hearing. I've been doing that already anyways. And I will make sure to give you guys updates as they occur. Make sure that you are subscribed and turn on notifications, because in my next episode, I'll be bringing you the direct updates from the July 10th hearing and break down exactly what happens next in the fight for justice for Noah. I would like to let you guys know about an event coming up for the Remember Officer Noah Foundation, and that is the 5th annual Remember Officer Noah Car and Motorcycle Show. That is going to be on Saturday, September 12th, 2026, from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. in Callaway Park in Elwood, Indiana. They're going to have classic cars, motorcycles, food trucks, craft vendors, raffles, and music, much more. It's free for spectators. Vehicle registrations, $20 for those wishing to enter a vehicle. Proceed benefits community educational scholarships, children's programs, and life-saving safety equipment for local law enforcement. It's going to be a really good event. Last year's event was amazing. So I would urge everybody that's able to attend. I would like to end this episode today by extending my deepest condolences to Noah's family and the Elwood Police Department. I know how this death affected me. I can't even begin to fathom how it's affected his family and the Elwood Police Department. My heart is with you. My prayers are with you. But that being said, this is Into the 92. Until next time, stay safe out there. Bye.
Elwood 39. Elwood 39. Elwood 39. Officer Noah Shahnavaz. On July 31st, 2022, Elwood Police Department Officer Noah Jacob Shahnavaz answered his final call. While initiating a traffic stop, Officer Shahnavaz was fatally shot. There is no greater love than a man that would lay down his life for another. Elwood Police Department Officer Noah Jacob Shahnavaz. Elwood 39 is 1042. He has gone home for the final time.